Hey now, and welcome down to KC Toy Reviews. We are here today with Jessica by SWTOYS. And if you didn't already know, Jessica is a very brief character in Resident Evil Revelations. And while this release is not horrible, I do fear for the long run. And if you want to find out why, let's go ahead, fine comb some of those details, and dive right the hell goddamn in. Alright, so here we are with Jessica by SWTOYS. And I'm probably going to butcher her full name, but it's something like Jessica Sherawat. Nonetheless, it is a very perplexing choice by SWTOYS to go with this character. Now, the only reason I say that is because this character was briefly seen in Resident Evil Revelations, and we're talking like a side character of this side game. Now, in my opinion, the biggest concern with this release is indeed the material of the suit. This certainly is not leather, this is pleather all the way, and forgive me for saying this, SWTOYS, but it appears to be a low quality pleather. As I bend it back and forth in very minimal poses, I'm immediately seeing some creases and concerns. Depending on your climate, your humidity, and where you're from, it is a roll of the dice how long this thing will hold up, unless you are keeping this in some type of museum pose. Now, a couple things I'm going to note immediately. The grip on the gun is pretty awful. I mean, it's pretty wiggly-waggly on here. It should have been a lot firmer and actually gripped it, because depending on the pose of this thing, I mean, if I have it like this, just holding it down, it's not horrible. But as you can see, just tipping it around, this thing, it basically, oh, there it goes. It wants to fall out of the hand. All right, now as we take a zoom in, I mean, yeah, it's pretty concerning. You can see some little nicks and knacks, and just the overall quality, nothing to rave about. There should have been something that defines these pieces a little bit more versus just matte spraying black over everything on here. The only color variation is this little tiny orange piece here. So yeah, this is a pretty awful paint application, and I am a fan of SWTOYS. I have a couple of their releases. You know, it's just unfortunate to say, because as we do take this zoom and deep dive, we can see a little bit of imperfections around here. And this is kind of the first time I'm seeing this in this great of detail as well, so forgive me some of the pauses because I am digesting some of this. So yeah, the backside looks a little nicer. I mean, we have some color variation, a little bit more contrast, but I'm still seeing a little bit of, I don't know. I get it, I'm being anal, but these pieces sometimes can range anywhere between $200 and $300. I think this one right around, I don't know, $170, $160. So we're spending a lot of money. So I guess I just want to stress again, I'm not trying to be anal. It's just for the price point. I think some of us should have some expectations. There's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, just glue it back together, KC, or shut your mouth, you're just whining. I'm not whining. In that range, I still expect perfection. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that rant, and we're going to swing it into a look at this head sculpt. Now, if you are a fan or familiar of SWTOYS, all of the head sculpts have this kind of animated artistic twist that SWTOYS puts on them. They're not necessarily screen accurate, yet you can see the character that they are trying to represent. Now, whether that's a good or a bad thing boils down to personal opinion. Now, personally, other than this black matted look that's just boasted around this figure, I actually think the face, the look, the little hair that's going down over the eyes doesn't look that horrible. And other than rooted hair, I'm not sure what they could have done differently. You know, I probably should note before I forget, the stand that I'm using is actually from the Zombie Bitten series by Osmus. This character does not include a stand. So SWTOYS, that is, I don't even know what to say. I mean, the fact that this piece can't even stand on its own and we're not including a stand just baffles me, the choices by some of these companies. But anyways, articulation on the feet is almost non-existent. Yeah, I can't even turn that. This whole thing is just stiff down here. So there is zero articulation there. These boots here are basically a 3D sculpted, same as the top black painted piece there. I've seen some slight imperfections again right around the leg there. Nothing horrible. But as you can see, and if you haven't already noticed, this is on a silicone Fison body. I'm not sure the exact representation or model number, but we do have a silicone body underneath everywhere here. which again, kind of an odd choice. We're going with a silicone body when the only exposed leg is really this piece here. Maybe you could have just brought the boot up over the knee a little bit, and then we could have been free and clear of any fear of damage in this thing, because this arm actually popped out of its socket as I was putting this hand on and off. So you should be very, very careful yourself when you do things like that. And then we do have a little gun that's in the holster over here on this leg piece. Put that right back down there, come around downtown. And then I guess the last thing I would briefly mention is articulation is, I mean, dare we say fantastic. Under here we have a silicone body, and if you're not familiar, you can bend and articulate those, and I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want, basically in any type of pose or angle that your imagination can create. The downfall is this suit feels like it's going to crack as I am putting it into those poses. So I don't know what the hell's going on here. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. You can do a little bit down there. I think it was just a little stiff. So not horrible. It's just this hits this area. I'll be very, very careful. And then we do have these tiny little accessories. We have the first aid spray, which if you're familiar with Resident Evil, very classic to the series. Same thing with these bullets, and then a grenade. And just a brief side-by-side with Leon Kennedy, probably one of the most famous Resident Evil characters out there. That's obviously up for debate. We have a couple other ones, Chris, Jill, but that's a discussion for another day. This just gives you a quick idea of scale. Leon to the left, and then we have Jackson from the Bitten series by Osmus on the right, which all of their zombies pair beautifully with any of these Resident Evil 1/6 scale characters. But we can quickly see that Leon towers over Jessica, so scale seems to be appropriate. And then paired with one another, I mean, it actually looks pretty nice. I do like the contrast between the colors and just an extension of this Resident Evil line. Clearly, they are not from the same game, but we are in the same universe, and just having them side by side for any completionist out there starts to give you that feeling, and your shelf presence is getting more intense. And there we have it. Jessica by SWTOYS. Now, as we've seen throughout this review, there are a couple things to be very cautious about. Take a couple steps back, it doesn't look horrible at eye's glance. It clearly represents the character from the game. The only things that I really had a gripe were the pleather suit. Well, I would just be very, very careful. Like I said, it's a roll of the dice how long that's going to last. Be careful bending it and keep it in a museum pose if you're going to have this on your shelves and you want some longevity out of it. Even the bends that I have in shot right now, I will immediately take these out and put it straight because I fear for that suit. The other thing that kind of threw me off was the matted black look to all these 3D sculpted pieces. The breather apparatus thing around her neck, the headpiece, the boots. I mean, they were straight off the 3D printer in a quick slap of black paint, if not already the black that was from the 3D printer. And you might say, well, that's not horrible, but as you zoomed into that chest piece, those little wires and the knickknacks should have been defined slightly different from one another. Even if one of them was a gloss and the other one was matte, something simple to give us a little definition between the two. Articulation is amazing on this thing. However, be careful with the articulation because it's going to hinder with the longevity of this piece. So it's kind of like a toss-up. And as far as accessories, I probably should have zoomed in a little bit more, but we just have the painted black matted pistol, the submachine gun, and then of course the first aid, grenade, and bullets. So I think with all that said, it's a great time to swing into a score on this piece, and what comes to mind, unfortunately, is a 6.3 out of 10. And with a 6.3 out of 10, I'm not sure I would ever really recommend this. So, with all that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here today at KC Toys with Jessica, a 6.3 out of 10. SWTOYS, and a plethora of other releases on the way. And with that, we'll catch you guys next time.